So now that episodes 1 and 2 are out from Ahsoka, we see a new Inquisitor. His name is Marrok. I want to talk about who he is and to finally know who is under the mask. So let's get right into it. So if you don't know, Marrok was a former Inquisitor. Inquisitors were usually former Jedi and Jedi Temple guards that joined the Empire after Order 66, and their main goal was to hunt any surviving Jedi that survived the Order. Now this is the catch, Inquisitors were mostly gone by the time of A New Hope. Not many survived, and while some died to other Jedi, some died to Darth Vader himself. Vader had a weird relationship with the Inquisitors. Although they served under him, he thought they were basically useless and really didn't like them. Vader also believed that Palpatine brought these Inquisitors in, that in case Vader ever died, one of these Inquisitors could be Palpatine's new apprentice, so the relationship was really off. Now, knowing what we know about the Inquisitors, how is Marrok alive at this time, and ultimately, who is he? Well, Ahsoka takes place 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi and Darth Vader's death, so there's really no reason for Inquisitors to serve, right? Well, actually, no. While Marrok was no longer an Inquisitor, he becomes sort of like a mercenary hired by Morgan Elsbeth, almost like a bounty hunter in a way. A lot of fans have their own different theories on who Marrok is and who's under the mask. Some believe this is Barriss Offee. Now, if you don't know who Barriss was, she was a former Jedi during the time of the Clone Wars. Barriss and Ahsoka actually do have a big history together. I mean, they both used to be Padawan learners and quite good friends at one point. That all ended one day when Barriss realized how corrupt the Jedi Order was, and she tried to frame Ahsoka for bombing the Jedi Temple. If you don't know, these accusations is kind of what allowed Ahsoka to see who the Jedi were and believe she should follow her own path. And it's why she ended up leaving the Jedi Order. But anyways, now while I like the theory of Barriss Offee potentially being this Inquisitor, I think that theory might be ruled out. In Ahsoka, we see Baylan Skoll refer to Marrok as he. And not only that, but if you look at his physique, he kind of looks like a tall male figure. The next theory a lot of fans had was that this could be Ezra Bridger. Now, Ezra is the main purpose. Sabine and Ahsoka are after the map to Thrawn because wherever Thrawn is, that's where Ezra is, right? Well, maybe not. We've seen in Star Wars Rebels that Ezra does in fact tap into his dark side at times. I mean, he always had a curiosity of the Sith holocron and the information inside of it, so I really wouldn't see him as a total Jedi, but definitely somebody with some conflict in him. I mean, it would be a funny scenario if Ahsoka and Sabine are going out of their way non-stop to travel to this distant galaxy, and all of a sudden, Ezra is like, hey, by the way, I've been here this whole time, you know. I would put this theory as high up because I'm gonna break something down here. Does the name Marrok sound familiar to you? Well, if not, for those that remember, there was a bounty hunter named Embo in the Clone Wars. He was a deadly bounty hunter. But do you remember his companion? Well, his wolf was named Marrok. Exact same spelling and everything. The name Marrok originates from the lore of King Arthur. Long story short, it was about a man named Sir Marrok that was betrayed by his wife and she made him as a werewolf for 7 years. So the connection's definitely there. We also know that Dave Filoni's favorite clone battalion was the Wolfpack and even calls himself Trapper Wolf when he makes a brief appearance in The Mandalorian. So if one person is going to incorporate any type of wolf lore to their own show, it's Dave Filoni. Filoni even mentioned at one point that he sees wolves in regards to people in the world as he does with the Force in Star Wars. So the connection is there. Now keep in mind, before I go any further, I personally do not think it's Ezra, and while we're onto something here, I'll explain shortly why. But anyways, Ezra had a strong bond with wolves towards the end of Rebels. I mean, he was even able to see and connect to a species called Loth Wolves, and they help him defend and take on the Empire. I really think this is a huge connection, so if Marrok is in fact Ezra under the mask, I think we'd be in for a huge surprise. But here's what I think. Galen Marrok, also known as Starkiller. For those that don't know, Starkiller was the secret apprentice to Darth Vader. Vader kept this as a secret from Palpatine, and quote-unquote Palpatine didn't know, but let's be honest, it's Palpatine, he knows everything. But overall, Starkiller was a great character. But anyways, Starkiller was seen in the video games The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed 2, which I highly recommend playing if you haven't already. But do you want to know how powerful Starkiller was? Well, imagine Vader's strength, then combine that with Dooku, Maul, Grievous, and every other Sith Lord known to man, all combined under one. I mean, this guy could pull an entire Imperial Star Destroyer with a force pull. Thankfully, it's not canon. This is actually Legends, and while it was a really fun video game to play, it's not something that's on the canon timeline. So why would I think that Marrok is Starkiller? Well, Starkiller was performed by the actor Sam Witwer, which if you do not know, it's the same voice actor for Darth Maul, both in the Clone Wars and in Star Wars Rebels. Sam Witwer's name is also seen in the post-credits at the end of Ahsoka. It says he was used as a voice actor, but we don't know how or what character he was. All we hear from Marrok in episode 2 was his grunt. So could have this been Sam Witwer? Could Sam Witwer be under the mask? A A few years ago, Sam Witwer did say he would love to play Starkiller in live action, but it would have to be different because the character was way too powerful. And if this was not enough, he also mentioned that Dave Filoni's original concept for Starkiller was to be an Inquisitor, so this theory just feels really right. I want you to take a look at something here.
I want you to take a look at something.
Look at their armor side by side. On the left is Starkiller, and on the right is Marrok. Pretty similar, right? Well, this was Starkiller's armor. You get this armor because towards the end of the game, you choose between the light side path or the dark side path, and if you choose the dark side, you get brought this suit, and this is how it looks like. Like I said, it's a great game. Anyways, but not only this, but you have to consider, like I said earlier, it's also the same fact that Starkiller's full name was Galen Marrok. While they're spelled differently, it's like it's just screaming Starkiller at this point. I feel like this would be Dave Filoni's way of making Starkiller canon, not in an overpowered, star-destroying, pulling force user, but rather as an Inquisitor who served under Vader and survived throughout the years. Again, maybe it's a stretch, but this is just what I'm thinking here, and the more I speak about it and the more I dive into it, the more I'm believing it more and more. It was leaked by Rosario Dawson herself that the big duel we see between Ahsoka and Marrok in the trailers will be in episode 4, so I'm thinking this is where we will find our answers. I mean, it would be really cool to see both of Anakin's apprentices just fighting off each other. What do you think? Do you think Marrok could be Starkiller? And if not, who do you think is under the mask? Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you, always.